A little while ago, I made a video called The End of the Topper Track or something like that. And in that video, I talked about the RMC Topper Track, aka their wooden coaster model basically being dead. But the more I think about it, the more I realize that that's not just RMC toppers. That logic can kind of be applied to wooden coasters as a whole. That wasn't a great transition, but whatever. The point still stands, the video's starting now. Wooden coasters are kind of nearing their end. Let me explain. Now, you might be thinking, Coastoons, wooden coasters are iconic. Almost every park has one, and they're not going anywhere. And you'd be right for about the first half of that sentence. They are iconic. Some of the most recognizable coasters in the world are wooden, like the Coney Island Cyclone. And almost every park does have a wooden coaster. They're kind of a staple in the lineup. But that second one might also be one of the reasons for their downfall. See, the thing is, wooden coasters can only get so innovative. We've seen what happens when manufacturers get too creative with wooden coasters. Lightning Rod was a hot mess, ElToro had an accident, the Voyage needs constant repair, Colossus needed to close for an extended period of time to be completely retracked, and the list goes on. Wood is just not meant for this type of grand innovation, which is why parks are beginning to turn away from it. They already all have their standard wooden coaster, whether that's a PTC or GCI or something in between that's just kind of a low to the ground twister with pops of airtime. Almost every park has at least one of these types of rides, sometimes even 2 or 3. There's just no need for these types of rides anymore. And like I said before, when manufacturers try to make bigger and badder wooden coasters, it almost always results in complete failure at some level. But the real reason that wooden coasters are dying is, the stuff I just mentioned, but it's primarily one company that's been defuncting the coaster type, and that company is RMC. RMC has single-handedly showed the world that we don't need wooden coasters anymore. Their whole business model is taking a wooden ride that no one cares about and making it into one of, if not the best ride in the park. And they do it time and time again, like Mean Streak, for example. Like, what am I looking at here? This is awful. They took this and made it into this. Like, come on, it's practically magic. And like I said, they did make wooden coasters with a topper track, but that model died off pretty fast. Again, I have a whole video on it, but it's pretty old, so I'll give you the cliff notes here. Basically, they're not making their wooden model anymore because of how unreliable Lightning Rod was, how rough they all get in like less than a decade, and because they just have a better alternative with hybrid coasters that parks are beginning to market. That last one is really important. It's like a dead giveaway. If parks are willing to give up the whole wooden coaster marketing, then you know it's game over. That's the main reason wooden coasters were popular to begin with, because like I said, they were so iconic, so having a new one meant free marketing because everyone wants to ride one. And it's not even just RMC. Other manufacturers that have been strictly wooden in the past are starting to use steel. GCI has their Titan track that they've been putting on coasters to make it more smoother, and they had that really cool looking concept unveiled at Apple a couple of years ago, but they just never followed up on. But even still, GCI has been more than just dipping their toe in the steel market. At this point, they're probably just waiting for a park to ask for a full Titan track makeover to take the full dive. And Gravity Group is probably an even more extreme example of this. Well, they don't have a full-on steel Titan track type thing to market to parks. They've been silently using steel in their coasters basically since they started. Like, it's most prevalent in the US, but almost all of their major coasters has a steel support structure, not wooden. They don't even try to hide it either. Like, look at this POV for Mindblower. Like, this is obviously just steel. They didn't even paint it. Also, Gravity Group is kind of like the innovative wooden coaster manufacturer in the sense that they're putting like inversions and whatnot into their coasters, but they kind of ran into the same problems with RMCs with roughness and reliability, so I wouldn't be surprised if they followed in RMC's footsteps and made the full jump to steel. On top of those two, other manufacturers that have made wooden coasters in the past all kind of just stopped. Intamin stopped after 4 prefabs, mostly because parks don't want to buy one. Vekoma and S&S woodies were kind of just a disaster to begin with, and B&M didn't even try. So if RMC focuses on the Raptors and hybrids, GCI and Gravity Groups are slowly transitioning to steel. Intamin prefabs are too expensive. S&S and Vekoma woodies are like the worst thing on planet Earth, and PTC and CCIs are defunct. Then who's gonna build wooden coasters? No one. And even if someone did, no one would buy them. In conclusion, wooden coasters are dead, and I had no videos ideas, so this is kind of a short video, but since I need to stretch this out a little bit longer, I'm gonna rank the 3 best wooden coasters I've been on, because I don't know. I really don't know what else to do. Now, before I start though, I do want to preface this by saying I've only been on like 5, maybe like 6 or 7 wooden coasters. I haven't been to that many parks, so yeah, this list is gonna be pretty limited. Anyways, let's get into it. I told you I've only been on like 5 wooden coasters. So yeah, my 3rd favorite woody is White Lightning. That's probably the most cursed take I have. Is this ride great? No, but it's better than the other woodies I've been on. I mean, like, there's not much competition. The only other ride that could take this spot is Comet at Hershey Park, but I still would probably prefer Lightning Racer. While Comet has by far the better airtime, Lightning Racer just has a more rapid fire pace that I just prefer. Like, Comet is good when it hits, but like, look at this. It's good, and then you stop. And then it's great, and then it stops. And then it's great, and then it stops again, and round you go. I'd rather just have a solid ride through and through. Plus, honestly, I don't think White Lightning is fairly rated. I'd say it's underrated, but then there's some bozos that say it's like one of the best coasters in Florida. And they're obviously wrong, but you have the other end of the spectrum where people say this ride is complete buns, but they're also just wrong. This ride is good, nothing more, nothing less. It's just a solid coaster. Moving on. So as you can see, there is a huge jump from my number 3 to my number 2. I was really close to putting this at the top of the list. Like, this ride is really good. The first drop on this ride in the back row always knocks me on my ass, and the pre-dip before it just makes it better. You're flying through the forest around trees and in and on a hill that's in this little corner of the park, and you really feel like a bandit on the run. The pacing is impeccable, the theming of the station is great, the airtime is deadly, the transitions are flawless. It's just an amazing ride, and the double barrel roll at the end is the perfect way to close it out. You have this relentless ride in this ditch the whole way through, and it finishes with this slow hang time filled climb up the hill to that station that always got everyone cheering when you hit the brake run. The one thing I see a lot of people complain about is how rough it is, and like, yeah, there are rough patches, but like, it's a wooden coaster. That's kind of to be expected. Honestly, I would take a little roughness on a woody over a glass smooth one. It's just, you know, kind of gives it some. And yeah, there's some woodies where roughness like is unbearable, but this just isn't unbearable. This is just enough roughness to make the ride feel out of control, but not enough to really negatively affect the experience. Anyways, let's move on to the number 1, and you probably know what that is. So yeah, you could probably guess this is the best wooden coaster I've been on. I've talked about this ride so much, like, is there really anything left to say? You already know I'm gonna say with this ride: good first drop, camelbacks, rolling thunder hill, switchbacks, yada 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 yada. All right, that's just gonna wrap up this video about wooden coasters. I know it kind of derailed. Anyways, if you stuck around this far, I hope you enjoyed it, and I will see you all in the next one.